She was the smoky-voiced siren who became a horror legend, the woman who defined sultry mystery on television, who commanded attention in cult classics, and who carried herself with a gothic glamour that made her unforgettable. But behind Adrienne Barbeau's iconic image, the scream queen, the femme fatale, the Broadway darling, lay a life just as fiery and stormy as the roles she played. From passionate romances with powerful men to messy breakups that spilled into gossip pages. From feuds behind the camera to scandals that haunted her career. This is not the story of Adrienne Barbeau's acting credits. This is the story of Adrienne Barbeau's love life, her fights, her scandals, and her controversies. Get ready, because what you're about to hear is not the glossy Hollywood fairy tale. It's the gothic tabloid drama behind the scream queen herself. Adrienne Barbeau's love life has always felt like a gothic novel, passionate, stormy, and filled with dramatic turns. Before she was known as the queen of horror films, Adrienne was a Broadway girl. She rose to fame in Grease on Broadway, playing the tough, leather-wrapped Rizzo. But even as her career was exploding on stage, her heart was wandering behind the curtains. Adrienne admitted later that Broadway was filled with temptations, fellow actors, musicians, men who were as restless as she was. Her early romances were fast, intense, and often short-lived. They weren't always with famous names, but they gave her a taste of how love in show business came with as much drama as the script she was reading. Adrienne's most famous relationship, the one that defined much of her image, was with John Carpenter, the legendary horror filmmaker behind Halloween and The Fog. When the two met, it was pure creative electricity. Adrienne became Carpenter's muse, starring in The Fog and embodying the eerie, mysterious beauty that horror fans would never forget. They married in 1979, and at first, Hollywood looked at them as a gothic power couple, the queen of scream and the king of horror. But behind the scenes, the marriage was less of a fairy tale and more of a slow-burning thriller. Adrienne has admitted that Carpenter was often distant, consumed by his films, and his work always seemed to come first. Whispers of other women around Carpenter swirled, though Adrienne remained silent about how much of it she believed. Their marriage produced one son, but by 1984, it had collapsed into divorce. It was messy, and while Adrienne rarely spoke badly of Carpenter in public, those who knew them said the split was riddled with resentment. She had given him her loyalty and her artistry, and in return she felt she had been left behind, another casualty in the world of Hollywood marriages. After Carpenter, Adrienne didn't jump into another headline-making romance right away. She dated quietly, often away from the spotlight, and her name wasn't splashed across tabloids the way other actresses were. But in those years, Adrienne admitted she struggled, wanting stability in love while still being drawn to passionate, sometimes chaotic men. Eventually, she remarried, this time to Billy Van Zandt, a playwright and actor. They married in 1992, and at first it seemed Adrienne had finally found something resembling peace. Together, they had twin boys through surrogacy. But once again, behind closed doors, the story wasn't quite so simple. The marriage lasted over 2 decades, but the relationship wasn't free from struggles. Adrienne later suggested that maintaining a marriage in Hollywood, with her career and his career constantly pulling in different directions, was never easy. When they divorced in 2018, it was quieter than her split with Carpenter, but it added another heartbreak to the gothic tale of Adrienne's love life. For all her charm and talent, Adrienne Barbeau has never been a woman who shied away from conflict. She had a fiery streak, and in Hollywood, that meant both professional and personal clashes. On Broadway, Adrienne was known for being tough. Playing Rizzo gave her a reputation as someone who wouldn't back down, and offstage, she often clashed with directors who underestimated her. She fought to be respected, refusing to be just another pretty face. Some called her difficult, but others saw her as a woman who wouldn't let herself be pushed around. Adrienne was once considered for roles on primetime soap operas like Dynasty and Dallas, shows known for catfights and power struggles. Behind the scenes, she had a reputation for being outspoken, and that may have cost her roles. Producers sometimes worried that Adrienne would fight back too much if she didn't like how she was being treated. It became both her strength and her curse. As Adrienne became a horror icon, gossip tabloids began to stir rumors of rivalries with other scream queens of the 70s and 80s. Stories circulated about her being competitive with actresses like Jamie Lee Curtis, though neither woman confirmed it publicly. Still, the horror fanbase loved to speculate. The original scream queens, battling for the crown behind the camera. Adrienne was also vocal about sexism in Hollywood long before it was common to do so. She fought against being typecast, against being dismissed as just the sexy woman with a low-cut top. Her refusal to be silent often put her at odds with producers and executives. It cost her roles, but it also cemented her reputation as someone who wouldn't be bullied. Adrienne Barbeau may not have lived the wild, cocaine-fueled lifestyle of some 70s stars, but that doesn't mean her life wasn't touched by scandal. Her divorce from John Carpenter was one of the most talked-about Hollywood breakups of the 1980s. Rumors swirled about Carpenter's infidelity, about Adrienne's frustration with being the director's wife, and about creative differences tearing them apart. Horror fans were devastated. The queen and king of their genre were no more. Throughout the 80s and 90s, Adrienne was frequently the subject of tabloid rumors. Stories about her dating life, whispers about her temper, and even cruel speculation about her appearance followed her. She was labeled as fiery in a way that male actors never were. In the 1970s, Adrienne became known for her striking looks, and her infamous 1978 Playboy shoot made her a sex symbol. While fans adored the spread, Adrienne admitted later that it sometimes haunted her career. Producers typecast her, and critics accused her of relying on her body rather than her talent. She fought against that stigma for years, and it remained one of the more controversial aspects of her early fame. Like many actresses, Adrienne faced harsh scrutiny as she aged. Tabloids speculated about whether she'd had cosmetic surgery, whether she was still beautiful, and whether she could remain relevant in a youth-obsessed industry. Adrienne fought back, writing candidly in her autobiography about aging, beauty, and Hollywood's obsession with youth. Her honesty sparked both praise and criticism, another controversy that added to her legend. Adrienne Barbeau's story isn't just one of movies and TV roles. It's a tale of passion, fights, heartbreaks, and scandals, a gothic Hollywood novel lived in real life. Love gave her joy, but it also broke her heart. Fights gave her a reputation, but they also cost her roles. Scandals surrounded her, but they only added to her dark, glamorous mystique. And through it all, Adrienne Barbeau remained exactly what fans adored her for: bold, fiery, and unforgettable.